Hey guys, it's WaifuGate here. Today we're going to be doing another deck guide video. So today we're going to be doing Temur Reclamation, which has grown in popularity since the ban of Agent of Treachery and Fires of Invention. So why Temur Reclamation to begin with? Well, it's been a competitive deck since it basically first released. The need for a sweeper, like I would say what held it back at certain intervals would probably be like the lack of a good sweeper. We now have Storm's Wrath, but ironically, most lists aren't even running it in the 75. But we still have Flame Sweep for the sideboard, but we'll get into details on that later. But I would say that periodically there have been shifts in the meta where Temur Reclamation's kind of fallen out of favor, came back, fallen out of favor, so on and so forth. And it's always just been a very a very good candidate for one of the best decks in Standard across time since it's been printed. So I haven't gotten a chance to play this deck a lot. I just kind of threw it together, jumped on the ladder, was kind of chilling out with it, and I enjoyed it, so I figured I'd make a video on it. And then we'll try to get some footage for this tomorrow during the stream. Maybe we can do the epic match of the week then with this deck specifically. I'll play this against viewers and on the ladder potentially. And I think what I like about it the most is that it's a control deck that wins the game fast. Because if you've seen my blue-white games or anyone's blue-white games, like Ali Eldrazi was streaming some blue-white control to try to counter Temur Reclamation. Specifically, they're very drawn out matches where you have to kind of get there with Shark Typhoon eventually. I had a blue-white version that was running like Mythos of Aluna, and you would copy the Shark Typhoon and that made it really fast, but you had to get to the point where it was safe to do that. And so anyway, like bringing it back, I think this deck is very good because it has control elements, like you're able to kind of snipe creatures here and there, throw an Uro in front of an aggro list. And most of the time right now, from what I've gathered, the ladder's mostly control type-esque decks. Ooh, words are hard. I'm still waking up, so I apologize. And then here's the sideboard. So I think that this has pretty good matchups against everything aside from like Jund Food game 1. Even game 2, it's sort of like you have to race them, and that can be a little dangerous. Like you have to hit your flame sweeps here and there, and then you have to establish Wilderness Reclamation without them using like, Thrashing Brontodon or Cinder Vines to kind of needle away at your HP, and also to blow up your Wilderness toward the end of the turn, So it can be pretty rough. Here I've opted in, get it, for more ops and more vision compared to most lists. I think most lists only run like 4 of these. And like sometimes they run 2 to 3nesses. I think the one of is really nice because you can dig for it and it's awesome. It's basically like icing on the cake, right? You don't want too much, but the right amount is awesome. So that's why I like the 1 nessa here. 2 crasses for late game potential because sometimes you just don't draw your expansions, or you have to use these kind of mid game to snipe a creature. And then I have 2 neutralize here, which from the list that I looked up, not a lot of people were running them. I think like Seth Manfield's list on Twitter had 2 or 3, so I'm kind of borrowing that. And I think that it's just a good mix-up of cards in general. So like early game plan, Growth Spiral, opt for land drops, opt before Growth Spiral to make sure you have extra lands to saturate the Uro and the Spiral. And then you've got Wilderness, of course, which you want to develop. And then you use Neutralize to protect your win cons in your hand and such. If you need to, or big threats from the opponent, like a Corvold or something. That's why I like having the Neutralize, because it can stop those cards that just end the game. And then you have 3 Shark Typhoons, which can also be a win con. You can very easily swing them with like an 8/8, making it so that your expansion explosion doesn't have to be too big to finish the game up. And then you've got Crassus there to, fill up the hand and refuel, basically. So I just like it. And Uro can just end the game by himself as well. So you have Uro, Typhoon, and expansion for your wins, basically. Land base has 2 Castle Vantress, 4 Triomes. That way you can cycle, draw a card that also fuels your Uro, as well as Fabled Passage fueling Uro. This also shuffles, which can be important if you scry something to the bottom. I don't think we actually have any scry lands in this list, so that's probably not too relevant. If you have to mulligan, if, for example, those go on the bottom, so you can shuffle that back up later. So you'll notice here that there's like one meme card. Everything else is pretty standard. You've got negates for control, dispute for flash or whatever, Narset for other lists that want to draw cards, Bant, what else is there? Like the mirror matchup, of course, stuff like that. Sweeps for aggro, Night Pack for control when they sideboard out their sweepers. Also against like aggro, like red or whatever, because you can just throw this down and the 4/4 is kind of hard to deal with. They usually just have Bone Crusher Giant. The Blast Zone, mainly for aggro, but you can also bring this in versus like Teferi 3. That way you can blow up Teferis, Narsets, etc. It's sort of nice. Usually I'm not a fan of this, but when I saw it in someone else's sideboard, like when I was looking at MTG Goldfish lists, I was like, and then I started to think about what it was used for. So I like that. Just as a shoe-in, just to deal with aggro, so you don't run the 4th sweeper, because this sort of helps against Teferi and aggro, so it's a dual-purpose card, whereas this is only against aggro, so you get more of a like versatility from that, you know, which is nice. Gust, of course, for half the meta. Most decks are running green or red, whether it's aggro for red or Bant or something. The only thing this isn't live against is like white control, which is why we have it in the sideboard, since that deck's a little popular. And then the Narset's reversal is for Thought Distortion and Thought Erasure and such. It's kind of nice. I wouldn't bring this in a lot, but I think that you kind of want it against Thought Distortion just because you almost lose to that card automatically. The only targets we have in our deck, if we bring them in Night Pack Ambusher, the ones that don't get hit by Thought Distortion, this is the card that I'm talking about in case you've never hit somebody with this or gotten hit by it. This spell can't be countered. Target opponent reveals their hand, exile all non-creature, non-lands from that player's hand and graveyard. So what'll happen is they cast this and they tap out, usually for this, and then you just reversal, and it goes back to their hand, and then it gets exiled from your copy of Thought Distortion. It's funny. I don't think it's 100% great if you're not going against a lot of Sultai midrange. Ramping into this card, don't worry about it. Play like 4th Negate, 3rd Aether Gust, or 3rd Narset. You'll be fine, but if you like to meme around and counter that Thought Distortion, follow your dreams like I am and go for it, okay? No one can stop you. So that's pretty much it. Like, I would say Jund is probably the toughest matchup. We've got a pretty good matchup against most other decks. I haven't played a lot in this meta. I've been on a monster train spree, and I'm slowly getting my sleep cycle back. Like today I slept 10 hours. The last few days I've slept like 3 to 4. So I'm glad that I'm on the upswing on that. So hopefully I can see you guys soon on the stream. And I'll see you other guys that watch the YouTube videos soon too. We got a new video coming out every day. So appreciate it. I hope that this was helpful. Gives you maybe a list to play in the new meta. Something to think about at least. If you have any questions and comments, feel free to throw them in the comments below. And if you prefer to talk in person or whatever, or not really in person, but a more instant feedback type deal, you can feel free to drop by the stream. I stream every day from like Wednesday until Sunday. So 2 a.m. until like 10 a.m. Central Time. So appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.